All right. Well, let's just start this. This is going to be about a 15-minute interview. Each council member has a question for you. Okay. You have 15 minutes, so managing your time is your responsibility. Everything that we do here is videotaped, and it will go on Bowie Cable TV at the conclusion of all the interviews. At the conclusion of the 15 minutes, we'll give you a couple of minutes to wrap up and leave behind the thought that you want to leave behind with us. Okay? All right, so...
Good evening, and thank you for taking the time for being here with us this evening, and we appreciate your offer to serve the community as well. My question for you this evening: to date, how have you chosen to serve the city of Bowie? And for example, have you served on city committees, run for office, been on an HOA, PTA, or the like? And how will that help you represent your constituents?
Back in 2007, I served the city on this steering committee that had produced the Environmental Infrastructure Action Plan at that time, and that has since been built on, I understand, with other planning documents concerning sustainability in the city. I helped to start our Neighborhood Watch Association a few years ago when we had a couple incidents that was of concern to my neighborhood. I've had influence in a small way relatively recently when I saw the need. I was responding to a neighbor's question about needing accurate neighborhood maps, accurate maps of the neighborhood on which city services were being planned and organized. And so I contacted the city, and Una Cooper said, yeah, we need one of those, thank you. And a few weeks later, here it is. And oh, by the way, your inquiry has prompted us to take a look at how we manage our GIS resources and improve the way we do things across several city offices that make use of them.
Thank you.
Mr. Stepp.
Good evening. The Sears location at Bowie Town Center is closing. The owners of the property are planning a mixed-use development on the site. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, it's valuable commercial property that shouldn't be neglected or abandoned. I think that it can serve the interests of the city and economic development and the prosperity of the community. I also recognize that a number of citizens are, justifiably concerned about the effect on traffic and the quality of life in the neighborhood. I did take a look at the video of the stakeholder meeting, and I saw some of the concepts that were being brought forward and illustrated, and also heard some of the remarks from the citizens. So I think that there are many facets yet to be weighed. I would expect that the different perspectives on the project, the different objectives that the project needs to satisfy can ultimately be satisfied, so that that area will serve the city well.
Mr. Marcos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dr. Cook, for being here tonight. And my question deals with development also. It's a two-part question. How do you feel about going forward with residential and commercial development in Bowie? And what do you think the relationship between the county and Bowie should be with regards to that development?
I want to get some statistics on the amount of residential and commercial development. It's not only the amount, but it's also the location and the configuration and how it affects the overall pattern in the city. I can't tell you without looking carefully at a map what I think that balance ought to be. In terms of relationship to the county, I have seen the remarks in the paper about how many people in Bowie think that the city would be better served in terms of Bowie having more control over its own development, and I'm inclined to support that. local control is often better, and there's a way to satisfy the local interests and the interests that we as citizens understand are in our city, and still coordinate with the county and the state to make sure there aren't any misunderstandings, and make sure that the city complies with the necessary regulations.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Trump.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Cook, thank you for applying. My question is, what do you think is the most important issue in Bowie, and how do you plan to make improvements?
I think the most immediate issue that comes to mind does have to do with this question about the character of the city as it addresses opportunities for economic development. I mean, that's an ongoing concern. Another issue that comes to mind is the schools that I hear comments about, and as your strategic plan says, you realize that you have limited influence over that as a council. The decisions that are made about how the city develops, I think, are very lasting, and so I think it's important to give those, deliberate over those seriously, and give them a lot of time and energy. I know that in the next year, this strategic plan, the term is going to end, and so I had an interest in contributing. I'm not sure when the opportunity is going to arise to contribute to the revision of that, but I had an interest in using some of my prior experience with strategic planning to help the city look at the next 4 years.
Mr. Garner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dr. Cook, for coming out this evening. My question is, it is my opinion that local government is the most important level of government. Explain why you either agree with me or disagree.
I agree, because the local government is where the citizens come together and are going to have the greater influence. I mean, I can walk up here a whole lot easier than I can walk into other offices or other assemblies and express my interest in running for office. It's the local constituents that know the quality of the schools, that know what it's like to get to work every day, that know how safe their neighborhoods are, that have needs for the amenities that essentially a city government, I think, is responsible providing. So it's the local government that I think has and should have a handle on the quality of life that people are living, and how the city can, and how the community, how the government can best respond to meet the felt needs of people.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that takes care of the easy part. Yeah, the hard part is just to give you a couple minutes to tell us anything about you, or any thought you want to leave behind.
Okay, well, I was told that I would have 2 minutes to say something, so I went to the trouble of preparing just 2 minutes. So I'd like to describe what I have to offer the council in terms of 3 A's. A's: attitude, aptitude, and action. Having been a Bowie homeowner for about 20 years, I have personally benefited from many of the amenities that are available here, and I truly appreciate the quality of city services and the communications. So I'd like to see the city's best characteristics sustained and built upon as new challenges and opportunities arise. And I would approach council membership in a spirit of public service and a willingness to learn from council members, constituents, and city staff as we pursue good solutions for the city. In terms of aptitudes, I expect that some will be useful as a council member. Very briefly, as a civil engineer, I welcome careful analysis. And I recognize the importance of evaluating the technical, financial, social, and environmental aspects of proposed projects. And I also recognize the value of eliciting and seriously considering stakeholder concerns early on. And I'm inclined to help generate creative solutions where needed. Two colleagues working with me on a professional committee last year kindly remarked that I had been influential in bringing some new ideas that would be useful to fulfill the organization's mission in the coming year. And in terms of action, I've been gratified to see a modest initiative produce results. That's the GIS resources being improved. And if I am able to work on revising the city's strategic plan, I would apply my strategy development experience to help articulate actionable items for the next 4 years. So thank you for considering me for council membership. I hope that the most qualified person is selected, and that's my primary interest as a citizen.
Well, thank you. Very good. All right, well, what'll happen now is we have interviews to do tomorrow night, and hopefully when those last ones are done, we'll try to see if we can come to a conclusion pretty quickly and notify everybody. But thank you for your participation. Thank you for your commitment to do that.
All right, thank you, Mayor Robson, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.